edition of Crafting and Crime Daily. I am your host, Rebecca, also known in the community as Crafting Journey. Welcome. Day 21 of the murder trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. She is charged with murdering her children, Tylee and JJ. Also, she's charged with the murder of Tammy Daybell. Just in this court in Idaho. More to come in Utah, where she will be charged. Is it Utah or Arizona? I don't know. I can't keep up. Arizona, where she faces charges for murder of the death of her husband, prior husband, Charles Vallow. Yeah. This is not her last trial. It's her first trial. Won't be her last. Okay, that's what I meant to say. It's Thursday. Where's my crime calendar? What happened to the... Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay. I don't want to forget. I'm going to put it right in front of me so I don't forget. A lot to get to today. Several witnesses took the stand yesterday. We're going to talk about an email that Tammy Daybell wrote to her son describing the attempted murder where someone tried to shoot her. Ian Pulowski takes the stand. He's the husband of Melanie Pulowski, Lori Vallow's niece. She was a follower. Remember, they tried to have her ex-husband, Brian Boudreau, killed. He was shot out by someone in a Jeep. Yeah, this thing is massive. This whole case is just massive. That's why we're 21 days in and no signs of slowing down. Then we hear from a friend of Lori's, Audrey Baratario. Baratario. I think that's how she pronounces it. Baratario, yeah. So, lots to get to. Okay. Oh, I'm diamond painting. Last night I was watercoloring and I was being silly. I don't have any of the artwork here handy. Oh, before I start about the trial, I got a new cross stitch kit from Luca S. This is my favorite cross stitch company because they give you a kit. Luca S. I think it's a company out of Moldova. Yeah, I don't know where that is. Moldova. Chisinau, Moldova. It's LUCA-S if you want to look up that company. But a lot of their stuff is available for 1, 2, 3 stitches. That makes it much easier, doesn't it? But the thing I like about this company is they give you everything you need. You don't have to like go, oh, I like that pattern. Let's go to the store and buy all the cross stitch thread when it gets to 49 cents a skein. No, it's all here and it's really quality thread. I'm not affiliated with this company in any manner. This is not an advertisement for this company. I just happen to like their kits. It also comes with the fabric, which is a 16 count Aida fabric. The perfect size for me, 14, 16, 18. That's 18 is actually a little small because I'm not seeing as well as I did when I was much younger. Anyway, so everything's here and it's this beautiful little kitten in the pink boot. You know I love pink with all the floral stuff. Now I have one more kit coming from this company. Well, it's actually coming from 1, 2, 3 Stitches, but I looked up this company and this one was on sale. I think it cost me $23 plus shipping. Yeah, shipping. Don't forget shipping. So I probably will start on this weekend. Either this or my May square, my Grafgan square. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's get to the trial. You're like, get to the meat of it, Rebecca. Yes, I'm wearing my Wichita State University shirt. I have no children that go to this school, nor grandchildren. My grandchildren buy this shirt for me from WSU, and then they proceed to go to KU. Who knew? I'm like, why did you buy me a WSU? Give me a KU shirt. Actually, I like their colors better. anyway, than the KU colors. Okay. Yes, I'm from Kansas. So day 21 of testimony. So we're going to start with the testimony of Audrey Baratario. She's LDS. She, at the time, lived in Utah. Later on, she feels a calling to move to Missouri. There, a lot of LDS origination history is in Missouri. So she's like, I think the second coming is going to be in Missouri. I'm going to go live in Missouri. Why do you need to live where the second coming is going to be? It ain't going to happen in your lifetime, babe. Or ever. Just saying. Okay. So she was one of these people that would go to the Preparing the People conferences, which is how she meets Chad Daybell. Someone said, hey, why don't you go listen to one of his talks? And she did, and then she ends up buying a couple of his books. Here's my thing about Chad Daybell. I think, because one of the things he would do it in his books. He talks about the afterlife and coming, and who you were. He's been reborn many times, and he's lived 5 other lifetimes, and here's who you were in one of those lifetimes. And so he tells her that you were married to Jesus Christ. Yeah. Here's what I think about Chad. I think he just loved women. I think these women would come up to him after hearing him speak, and they'd come up to his little card table where he had his books set up, and they would buy his books, and he would charm them and say, I know who you were in one of your past lives, and can I have your phone number? And he would call them, and anyway. So, yeah. Okay. That's just my opinion. He was a charmer, a snake charmer, so to speak. So he gets Audrey's phone number, and he actually calls her one day, and he says, listen, I've got this friend Lori well, her name was Vallow at the time, Lori Vallow, and I would like you to make friends with her, because she's a really good friend of mine, and I can't be there all the time for her because I'm married, and would you be friends with her? So they actually meet up at a different Preparing the People's conference, and she meets Lori, and they become friends. How weird is that? That's just okay. This whole thing is just crazy. So she meets her at this Preparing the People conference, and Lori says, hey, come on back to my hotel. So when she gets back to Lori's hotel, Melanie Pulowski is there, Lori's niece. Melanie Gibb is there. Zulema Pastemis is there. The whole group is there. Not Chad, but all the ladies are there. And Lori says, let's all join hands. Now, Audrey thinks, oh, we're gonna do some prayer, and I'm good with that. Oh, we'll do some prayer. Well, they were doing a casting, but they were working on Charles. So she couldn't remember exactly anything that Lori had said, but she said she was talking about knives and guns and death, and she said I was very uncomfortable. And as they would go around the little circle of friends, and each person would say something. And when it got to her, she's like, I don't have anything to say. And when it was over, she just left. But she stayed friends with Lori because Chad asked her to. Yeah. Then there was a time in October of 2019. Now, both kids are dead now. They're buried. Now we're working on Tammy's death. In October of 2019, Lori and Melanie Pulowski, her niece, go to Missouri to visit Audrey. And they want to see all the historical stuff. So they do that, and they travel around. And then Audrey, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get all these names right. Then Lori and Melanie go to Hawaii. So Lori says, I'm getting all these names confused. Okay, let me start over. After the conference, Audrey goes home to Missouri. Lori and Melanie Pulowski go to Missouri to visit Audrey and see all the historical sites, that have to do with the LDS Church. Then Lori and Melanie Pulowski, her niece, fly to Hawaii. Then Audrey says, hey, I want to go to Hawaii. So Audrey flies to Hawaii. Then the three of them, they're going around Hawaii. Now, Audrey says Lori was getting annoyed with Melanie because Melanie wanted to do all these things. I don't think Melanie had been to Hawaii ever. And she's like, I want to go here, I want to go there. And, Lori's old hat to Hawaii. She's lived there. None of this is new to her. So Lori says, I'm just going to fly home. I'm going to fly home. So Lori leaves and she flies back to Rexburg. So now Audrey feels bad. Oh, Lori left. I feel bad. So Audrey changes her flight and flies, instead of flying home to Missouri, she flies to Rexburg to visit Lori. Did you get all that? First of all, who has the money to fly around like this? Like, I wanted to fly to Alaska and it's an arm and a leg. And I'll change my flight and I'll go to Hawaii and then what? Who's got that kind of money? All of this travel occurs in October of 2019. This is when there's an attempted murder of Tammy Daybell and the murder of Tammy Daybell occurs in October 2019. So when Melanie Pulowski and her aunt Lori are visiting Audrey in Missouri and they're doing all this sightseeing, Lori happens to mention that Tammy Daybell has an evil spirit and they're going to do this casting out. Then a couple of weeks later, when Lori and Melanie go to Hawaii and then Audrey follows them to Hawaii, Lori tells Audrey, oh, Tammy Daybell died. Now, what Audrey says is when they were doing this casting and it came time for her to speak, because they take turns speaking, she just kind of said a little prayer and said, if there's something going on with Tammy, I pray she gets over it. Something like, just to lighten the, give the ruse of participation, I suppose. Then when she goes back, she follows Lori back to Rexburg. They have some talks and she's very uncomfortable there and she wants to end the friendship. So she's saying she's going to go to bed early because she wants to leave the next day. And it comes out during the testimony, and I'm going to play you what is said exactly, but apparently Lori threatened her. So here is that testimony, and I will see you on the other side.
And she died.
Yes.
Okay. And I think,
they were working on their own doing those things.
Yeah. I think defense counsel kind of asked you about this friendship and why you terminated it, and you said that you were scared or in fear. Why was that?
Because of a conversation.
And who was the conversation with?
Lori.
Did she make threats to you?
She did.
What did she say? What threats did she make to you?
Your Honor, I think this is outside.
She threatened to kill me.
I'd object.
Hold on just a minute. It came up on cross-examination, so it's within the scope of cross and proper redirect. Ms. Rawlings, you can re-ask the question.
What's the time and place of this conversation?
And I think, Audrey, you indicated this was when defense counsel asked you why you ended the friendship, and that was in what month?
In October 2019.
Okay.
Yes, I had already made plans to leave because I had prayed about it and felt like I needed to leave and end the friendship. And I was leaving early the next morning. And Lori and I were the only ones in the home, in her place at the time. And I told her that I was going to go upstairs and pack my bag and just go to bed early because I didn't want to spend more time with her. And as I went to go and do that, I asked her the question, is there anything weird going on that I don't know about? And she said, no. What do you mean? And I said, I don't know anything. And she said, no. So I took her at her word because I'm a trusting person. And as soon as I turned to start to go up the stairs, she started laughing, the kind of laugh as if you're laughing at someone or think something's hilarious. And she said to me, you're so naive and too trusting. You're like a little child. You'll believe anything anyone would tell you. And she said, you think the world is all unicorns and rainbows. You go around helping people and serving them. Well, I've got news for you. Not everyone's a good person. And not everyone can afford to be so nice and kind. And then she said that
So I want to just focus on what threats she made to you.
She threatened to kill me.
Okay. Did she say how?
Yes. She said that she would cut me up. And something about that she wasn't in the mental place to do that, but that she would get herself in that place to be able to do it. But that she didn't want to have to because it'd be so messy and there'd be so much blood. And then bleach and something about trash bags. And that she would bury me where no one would ever find me.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rawlings.
Recrossing that.
You may, Mr. Archibald.
So this diabolical conversation that you're having with Lori in October of 2019, was this in Idaho?
Yes.
You'd been with her previously in October of 2019 in Missouri, right?
Yes.
You'd been with Lori previously in October of 2019 in Hawaii, right?
Yes.
And then you followed Lori from Hawaii to Idaho in October of 2019, right?
Yes.
And then you decide it's time to go home to Missouri.
I'm sorry. I didn't follow her. I did not follow Lori.
Okay. You just happened to go from one state where you were vacationing with her to her place where she lived. But you're saying that's not follow.
Objection, argumentative.
That's sustained.
So this conversation in Idaho is before you go to the temple or after you go to the temple?
After.
And so you're saying she starts laughing and talks about unicorns and rainbows and that she would cut me up and put me in trash bags.
Something. Yeah, she mentioned trash bags.
Why?
Objection calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Did she ever say, I killed my kids and I'm going to kill you too?
Objection beyond the scope.
Overruled.
No, I knew nothing about her children.
Right. Did she say, I killed Charles and I'll kill you too?
She didn't talk about Charles.
Nothing like that, right?
She brought up being at the scene, watching someone take their last breaths.
And you have previously testified under oath, swearing an oath that you'll tell the truth. You have previously testified at a grand jury hearing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember taking an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember your testimony that you did not say anything like this?
I was scared, and she had said that if you ever tell anyone, I'll come and find you in the dark of night.
So you now want the jury to believe that even though you previously testified under oath and nothing of this sort was talked about, that you come here today and say you are so scared, that's why you didn't previously testify about it.
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
It's overruled.
What was your question?
You want the jury to believe that you just didn't make this last crap up.
I did not make it up.
But you acknowledge that you did not say this when you previously testified in support of probable cause, right?
Yes. Chad
Okay.
and Lori.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I just ask one follow-up question?
No, Ms. Rawlings, that's been through a redirect and recross, and so that will conclude the testimony of this particular witness. All right, we're going to take our mid-morning recess at this point. Let's take 30 minutes, and we'll come back on for additional.
How about that? Huh? Got some. Now the defense is really pissed off because this is not something she ever said to anybody during her grand jury testimony. Never said it before. Why didn't you say it before? I was scared. I understand that. I understand you're scared. If somebody threatened to, because now, now she knows, like, the kids were missing, the kids were found dead. She threatened me in the same manner. I'm not going to say nothing to nobody, Maybe they'll send somebody after me. I don't know. Maybe they'll do a casting out of me. Then the next person to testify was another detective that had been on the stand before, but now he's testifying about an email that Tammy Daybell sent to her son, who is on a mission. So in the LDS church, apparently the children, when they turn 18, they go on missions. And they're lengthy missions abroad. So her son is, and we know that when Tammy died, it was mentioned that her son was in Africa. So he was doing his mission in Africa. So after she gets shot at in the driveway that day, she sends an email to her son. And the detective reads, it's a 3-page email. He reads page 2 of the email, where she's just describing what happened. So here is that testimony. Listen to that. I'll see you on the other side.
Detective, can you see that on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
And referencing the bottom, can you read into the record who this message is being sent from and who it's being sent to?
This message is sent from tammy.daybell@gmail.com. Tammy Daybell sent to mark.daybell@missionary.org. Mark Daybell. Timestamped 10/13/2019 at 2:38:18.
And can you also see that on the screen?
Yes.
And is this a portion of that email?
Yes.
And could you read that into the record, starting with the now?
Now, on the same day, I was coming home from clogging. It was about
Here, I'm
9.
going to object. I think we need some context as to who's speaking, who's writing this, what's going on.
Your Honor, he already indicated who the message was being sent from and who it was being sent to.
Yeah, the objection's overruled.
If you want to go ahead and start again there.
Yes. Now, on the same day, I was coming home from clogging. It was about 9:15, and I backed into the front driveway. I was getting some items out of the back seat. We had made freezer meals at enrichment night, and my clogging shoes. I realized someone was by the back of the car. I looked up, thinking it was Dad or Garth to help me carry stuff in. Nope. It was a guy dressed in black with a ski mask on, pointing a rifle at me. I think I was a bit in shock because I just said, "What do you think you were doing?" Then I noticed a rifle was actually a paintball gun. It had a hopper on the top. The guy started pulling the trigger, and I could just hear the clicking of a whooshing sound of an empty paintball gun. He stayed standing by the back of the car, just pulling the trigger while pointing the gun at me. For some reason, I just kept asking him what he thought he was doing. At that point, I was actually more annoyed than scared, because he was standing between me and the door, and he didn't step towards me or even say anything. The scared part came after, when my brain thought of what things that could have happened. The thought crossed my mind to hit him with my clogging shoes, but first I looked towards the house and yelled, "Chad." The guy ran around the house, around the north side of the house. I ran in the house and got Dad and Garth. They looked outside, but we couldn't find him. We called the police and reported it. They suspect it was a bipolar teenager who lives down the street and walks around a lot. But Matt Price has an even better theory.
And I'll have you stop there.
After this testimony, then this officer talks about the Google searches that Alex did surrounding that day of that shooting. You know, Tammy claims she thought it was a paintball rifle because that's what it looked like to her. So Alex did a bunch of research on this particular kind of rifle and even went to the gun range and tried it out. The detective had a sample of this rifle in the courtroom. It took up the entire table. It's an AR style rifle, and he shows it to the jury, and it looks like a paintball rifle, but it's a real rifle that Alex had been doing all these Google searches on YouTube's on how to use it, and apparently he didn't do enough research because it misfired. Thank God it didn't kill her. One of the Google searches that he did was, would this rifle be able to penetrate a Dodge Dakota, which is the kind of vehicle that Tammy was driving that day, a Dodge Dakota. Wow. Then the next person on the stand was Ian Pulowski. Now, Melanie Pulowski, I think we're going to hear from, she's probably testifying today. Melanie Pulowski was married to Brian Boudreau. Brian was one of the first couple of witnesses in this case. He testified that he was in the midst of divorcing Melanie. Melanie had gotten in with this group with Lori and Chad and was just going overboard with it. And so Brian and Melanie were getting a divorce. They may have already been divorced. He moves into this brand new house that he rented for himself, and so that the children could come visit with him. And he hadn't even been there a couple of days when he comes home and there's a Jeep Wrangler parked in front of his house. And as he's approaching, he sees that the windows are tinted and someone rolls down a window and points a rifle with a silencer at him and shoots out his driver's side window, misses him by inches. So that is another thing that there'll be charges for when they get back to Arizona. Tammy and Chad. So they get divorced. Melanie, within a few weeks, meets and marries a guy named Ian Pulowski, who also has children. They go on their honeymoon to the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Nice hotel, by the way. Love the fountains. And it's that night, instead of getting their freak on, they're talking about her LDS beliefs and these far-fetched, castings out of the demons and the zombies. And he's like, what? Yeah, so he starts to worry. He's like, whoa, I'm a little worried for myself and my children's safety here. And he thinks about it for a couple weeks. Then he goes to the Rexburg, Idaho police after they get back home. And the Rexburg police say, we would like you to wear a wire. And I don't know if it was actually on his body or if it was on a keychain or how they configured it all, but they asked him to wear a wire and to basically record any conversations that he could between Lori and Chad or, yeah. And there are recordings. So prosecution was not going to play them. And the defense is like, we want to hear the recordings. So the judge says, okay, we're going to hear the recordings. Where are they? And he's like, well, they're on a jump drive and we'll have to get them. And they weren't there. Prosecution had no intention of playing these recordings. And I'm curious why. But so the court ended like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And with instructions that the prosecution come tomorrow morning with those recordings because we're going to hear them. I'm very curious why the defense is so keen on hearing these recordings. I'm sure they've heard them before. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody what's on these recordings, except for us. We want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, more about that tomorrow on the Friday edition. Okay, the murder of Emily Kay. Patrick Mahone was stopped by police at Waterloo Station in London on May 2nd, 1924, on suspicion of murdering Emily Kay. Police were tipped off by Mahone's wife, who had asked a police officer friend to check on a baggage claim ticket she had found in Mahone's jacket. Police were waiting for Mahone, who was Kay's lover. When he came to claim his bag at the station, inside the bag was a bloody knife that Mahone confessed was connected to Kay's disappearance. He then led police to a bungalow in Sussex where he had left Kay's dismembered body. He claimed Kay had died accidentally after hitting her head and that he only mutilated her to save his marriage. A medical examiner disproved his claim. Kay's murder was an unexpected turning point in investigative techniques. After officers were forced to gather Kay's remains from the crime scene with their bare hands, carrying rubber gloves and wearing them at crime scenes became common practice. Good idea. Why did they not think of that before? I don't know. Okay, that's the show for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please leave me a thumbs up. Yeah, it helps the algorithm and helps YouTube push my video out. Yay! All right, see you in tomorrow's show.